And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 5th edition of LFP Live. We've already got a bunch in chat already, and you can sleep in sometimes. It's all right, but it's St. Patrick's Day, and I realized I didn't wear green. Connor didn't wear green until we were on the show. So
Yeah.
we're back as always. We're gonna have a bit of a new audience today. We're streaming live on Facebook as well. So now we've got a bunch of different platforms going. So if you're watching on Facebook here and you haven't watched us before on the Sundays, good morning. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Connor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Like you said, St. Patrick's Day weekend, having a great weekend, and got a lot planned today. And then the Jets play tonight. But yeah, having a great weekend so far, and excited to talk about this. I didn't watch the Jets game on Friday night, but I did rewatch the highlights, a little bit of a condensed version of it. So I'm here to give my thoughts. I'm ready to go.
Okay, perfect. And why don't we dive right into that? Jets absolutely rolled the Ducks. 6
Yeah,
nothing. Couple of goals from excuse me. A couple of goals from Tyler Toffoli. Um the crowd was into it. Like it was one of those ones
yeah.
where like by the end of it there, it was like that's all you could hear. It was a sellout. Friday night game, folks were getting rowdy.
Oh yeah,
And the thing though that stuck out to me was uh they took care of business against a team that actually looked worse than I thought they did. Um because that Ducks team is not good, but they were relentless
no,
from the puck drop. There was never a point where I'm like, oh, the Ducks might be in this. But
no.
no, it was a really good game from the jump. I know you said you didn't really watch the full game, you watched the highlights, but from what you saw, what'd you think?
Well, yeah, like everyone I talked to who went to the game as well kind of relayed that message of the atmosphere and how, I mean, the team wins 6-0. It's a sellout crowd. It's like when you go to a Bomber game and you're singing Sweet Caroline halfway through the fourth because they're up 70-10 on whoever, like on Ottawa or something. Like it just felt like from what I heard, that's what people were kind of relating it to. And yeah, the Ducks are on the second night of a back-to-back. They're not a good team to begin with. What you want to do is leave no doubt that you're going to win that game from the second it starts. And kind of the condensed version I watched, like the Jets, the shots on goal when Kyle Connor scored his first was 10-3. So they came out with jump. They scored 1-0. And then just from there, absolutely dominated. And then 2-0. And then in the third period, they score 4 unanswered. And Mason Appleton scores with like 5 seconds left
The
for the
king of
second
garbage
straight
time.
game. Yeah, like okay, great goal, Mason. But no, a 6-0 win. I mean, that's again the Ducks were on a second night of a back-to-back, so that's what that game should have looked like. And
It
me
did.
personally, I was really excited about how good that second line looked.
Mhm.
Obviously, Toffoli had the 2 goals, but Ehlers had an incredible pass to DeMello on his goal as well. It looked like all 3 of them were cooking, and yeah, that was fun to watch.
Which Dylan DeMello's first goal in 64 games.
Yeah,
When was the
that is
last time he
a
scored?
night
Was it the
home
game against
opener.
Florida? Yeah.
Yes, home opener against Florida. Yeah,
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 and I mean, the thing is too, and I saw this where it was one of those games where so before we actually got into the game, the lines were all shuffled again, and Iafallo was brought back up to the top line,
yeah,
which I pointed out that against a better team, I'm not exactly sure that that works because that line historically has been not good, but it's an absolute drubbing when uh, that line I think was still like controlling 2/3 of the chances when they were on the ice.
yeah. It seemed like every line was. Like I was looking at the analytics, and every single line was above 50% at the absolute minimum in expected goals, right? And then you get to the defense and the fact that Laurent Brossoit had another shutout, and the fact that he's carrying what 150-minute shutout streak going
Something around
into
there.
whenever his next start is. We are going to talk about the upcoming road trip later on, and I want to get your thoughts on what you think they should do with the goaltending, because there is a back-to-back at the end of it,
Hmm.
which obviously they'll alternate Hellbuck Brossoit. But until then, I don't like there's some debate here because Laurent Brossoit has played so good. It's not Connor Hellebuyck's fault. It's Brossoit's literally shutting the door. He's not giving up any goals. So do you kind of ride the hot hand here? I don't know. But this was another game where the Ducks had chances. Like it wasn't like the Seattle game where Brossoit had a shutout. Like, I don't know, 17 shots against, not many of them were high danger. Sure, good shutout. You made the saves you needed to. This game, I felt that there was a little bit more chances, and he was up to the task. But hey, two shutouts are two shutouts, no matter how they come, right? So that's impressive. And for a backup goaltender to be playing this well, I've said it all year long. And when he keeps getting shutouts, his price keeps going up. I think he's earned himself a starting role somewhere next season for sure.
Well, that's the thing, and I'm like, to be honest with you, I would. I don't think Brossoit has back-to-back starts all season. I would start him
Right.
tonight
Really? Okay.
against a very weak Columbus team that doesn't have a whole lot of firepower.
Hmm.
Let Hellebuck have another day because he's about to see some very, very difficult competition this week.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to tune in yesterday at all to the Rangers Penguins game.
No, but I saw the third period, but also I saw it was like 7-4.
Uh, at one point it was tied,
Hmm.
and I turned it on, and the Rangers, and obviously the Penguins aren't good. We know this. They're better than like some of the really bad teams, but the Rangers looked like the Globetrotters out there with a lot of what they were doing. Like it was just they were just drawing guys away
Yeah.
from the defender and just finding the open. Like Panarin and Zibanejad were both just wide open on their goals. Like I'm like, how do
Yeah.
those guys get free? But it's the way they play. And we saw this earlier this week, and we're going to talk about this more later with the Nashville game. That if you come at the Jets with speed, you're going to give up some decent chances. So my thought is, if you
Yeah.
give Bressois tonight against the Jackets, who aren't going to, threaten to score, five on you,
Hmm.
then maybe when the Jets visit the Rangers, Hellebuck's going to feel nice and rested, and everything will be, as it should be. But I'm assuming we'll see Hellebuck tonight because, as I said, I don't think he's had a back-to-back night off yet.
Which, yeah, I agree. And I also think that means we see Hellebuck tonight, Hellebuck Tuesday against the Rangers, and then Bressoit Thursday against the Devils. And then again
Yeah.
on the weekend, they play the Islanders and the Capitals back to back. Probably Hellebuck for the first one, Bressoit for the second one. I mean, it doesn't really matter on the back to back because both those teams are right around the playoff line in the East. But I think as long as you lock in Hellebuck to play Tuesday night against the Rangers, the rest of it, do whatever you want. Ride the hot hand, as some people are saying in chat here. There's a guy with a 150-minute shutout streak going, so you could roll with that. Jeff saying he forgot Brossoit on his bench in fantasy.
Oh.
We've all been there. We've all been there. For Brossoit, actually, funny enough, like when he's getting these shutout streaks, I talk about how he's going to make himself starter money somewhere else. He's made himself a starter in fantasy hockey for people who have him. It's pretty incredible. Everyone's saying ride the hot hand, ride the hot hand. Sammy Smokes, the practice the team needed for the new guys to better familiarize themselves with the rest of the team. They did practice on what day was that? Thursday. Yeah, the first practice with Toffoli and Miller on the new team. And then they did have some lineup changes going into Friday. I guess we should discuss that. Stanley
Yeah.
and Schmidt were in, and Sandberg and Miller took the night off. And then up front, David Gustafson was in. Cole Perfetti was out. I'm not sure. Was Rasmus Kapari in? Like I don't even remember. But anyways, what did you think
I can't
of?
remember.
Well, what did you think of the lineup changes and basically load managing that third pairing on defense and fully moving in Stanley and Schmidt?
If there's going to be a night to do it, it's against the Ducks.
Right.
And that's the thing. I don't think it was performance based for that third pairing at all. And there were some people freaking out about, how things were going. The thing that I was concerned about was the fact that the top two lines were switched again. That was
Mhm.
my only concern. The defensive part, though, I didn't read into that much. That just felt like, Bones wanting to get those guys into a game, and they were, you know, exactly as you kind of want them to be. They step in. They haven't played in a few games, and I saw. I mean, that's the thing. Nate Schmidt to me is a terrific guy to have on your back end when he's not making as much as he is.
Yeah.
He's a very stabilizing, presence a lot of the time. Like he's not going to do anything wild, but he knows exactly when to jump in. But I can't say I want him back there all the time based on how much money he's making. So
Right.
yeah, but I thought that pairing was fine, and both of them had some chances as well. But no, like it was one of those situations where I think there was a moment where I think Bones saw a weak opponent and saw that there's still that long stretch coming ahead here.
Yeah.
Give the guy some rest.
Yeah. And I think that's a good idea. Like, I'm not going to say it's load management because they're not sitting, Josh Morrissey to rest him up, but it's a good idea. You have all this depth. Let's use it. Again, it's Anaheim. It's a Friday night. They're on the second night of a back-to-back. You should have no issues putting in Stanley and Schmidt on that third pairing and still winning the game, which is exactly what they did. A lot of people in chat wanting LB tonight against Columbus. I
That's what
find
I'm
that
saying.
interesting. Riding the hot hand. Okay. Jeff bringing up Tyrell Bauer's fight last night. Did you see this, Brian?
I did not. You're playing the Wolves,
So
right?
basically he gets into a fight. And the players do that thing where they're like standing a foot away from each other,
Yeah.
going like this, like waiting. He like fakes an uppercut and then takes the guy out with one punch over the top. It's nuts. Like Tyrell Bauer, and fighting is just, I don't know. And he was hurt, and that was his first game back in the lineup, I believe.
Jeez.
I thought that's what I read in the tweet. Shout out to Dave Manuk who clipped that, posted it to Twitter. But man, Tyrell Bauer just a force when you talk about fighting. Is that a Nordiques hoodie? It is. Avs with a big win last night over the Oilers. It's not like I care. It's just a nice hoodie in my opinion. But yes, Nordiques hoodie. Matt saying load management will be important over the next few weeks. Could go a long way for a deep playoff push. Absolutely. Like, yeah, they're only load managing the bottom six and the bottom pairing right now. But you could even give a Mason Appleton a night off. You could give an Alex Iafallo a night off. Like, down the stretch here, if guys get tired, guys get sick, which has happened a lot, you can give them a night off. Why not? You got all this depth. You might as well, right? Is there anything else from this Ducks game that you wanted to touch on? I mean, Toffoli scored twice. We just kind of passively mentioned that. I mean, I think that's pretty notable.
Yeah, and the thing is too is he truly got the fans welcome then. Like obviously he
Yeah.
got the cheer when they welcomed him in his first game, but it was like a full standing ovation. You could barely hear, Dan Robertson on the TV.
Yeah.
Like I was listening and I'm like, I can barely hear him because it's that loud in there. And the thing that caught me too is after that, because I think his second goal made it 5-0. Um,
Mhm.
After that, for the first time in, I would say, years, I heard the classic chanting the goalie's name.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say this too because I saw it this week on TikTok, I think, where it was back in the first season, final game of the 2011-2012 season, where the Jets came back and tied the game in the last minute against Tampa. Goalie was Dwayne Rollison, and they had the Rolly chant going so loud that the camera was shaking.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that to me, those things, like I'll remember that too. Is like there, if you're a goalie with a 2-syllable name, good luck. Um,
Yeah.
but no, I heard it last on Friday night, and I'm like, oh my god, it's happening, it's back.
Yeah. And this is a whole nother debate, but I'm sure the sellout crowd helped the in-game experience last night, and that's a lot of things that people like. You hear people say that, oh, the in-game experience sucks. My response to people who say that is go watch a game in Calgary. Tell me how groundbreaking this in-game experience is. Go watch a game in Edmonton. Go watch a game in Vancouver. Like it's the same. Like I don't know what when it's a sellout crowd on a Friday night and you win 6-0 and you're chanting the goalie's name in the third period. Yeah, the in-game experience is going to be better. Like no, like I'm not going to say that, but like obviously, like the sellout crowds, when there's more people, more butts in seats, the rink is more fun to be at, and a 6-0 win definitely helped, right? But yeah, I heard that too, and I thought that was great. That's a Foley thing. He scored. The crowd was going nuts. What do we think of his goal song, "Uproar" by Lil Wayne? I love it.
That's
Absolutely
up
love
there
it.
for me.
Same.
That is
I
up there for me. That song gets me going like nothing else.
I wanted to maybe re-rank our goal songs today, but Elliot couldn't make it. So maybe we'll save that for maybe Thursday's episode this week or something like that. We'll do that. Or we have to learn Colin Miller's goal song too. I had
Yeah,
people on my Twitter
exactly.
mentions saying like, "Oh, it's a secret, but it's like low key the best one." And I was
He
like,
needs to
"What?"
score.
I know he needs to score, which we'll see. But yeah, is there anything else you have on this Ducks game? I mean, we talked about the in-game experience, Toffoli scoring twice, the load management, Brossois. Anything
I
else on the top of mind?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, it was one of those games where there was nothing really negative to
Right.
mention. And as bad as it sounds, it's way easier to, keep talking about certain negatives than it is the positives. And
Mhm.
there wasn't a lot here. Like, and it's one of those things we talked about it a lot in this past week. The Jets need to take this level of effort against these, bad teams
Yeah.
and somehow find a way to make it translate against the playoff teams.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, as we've mentioned already, I think we mentioned on Thursday's episode, they've struggled as of late against the playoff opponent, which is why tonight against Columbus is another big one because another bad team. And then you've got a nice little string there of playoff or fringe playoff teams coming up here that it's going to be a real test for what they do.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about tonight's game, and then we'll take our break and do the full road trip, and then we will ask our typical Ask LFP segment at the end of the live today. Thank you to everyone who's here with us on a Sunday morning at 9:20. We've got over 100 people here across all platforms, so thank you everyone. Um, the inconsistencies, we talked a little bit about it after the Nashville game because that was another game where they played a playoff team. They got rolled. Like that game wasn't close. Sure, it says 4-2. They scored 2 garbage time goals. I don't really mentally count that. They got blown out in that game 4-0. Start of the third period was the most concerning for me. I don't know what it was. They looked tired as a team. Nashville looked energized. And then the Jets came out on Friday night and looked energized and made the other team look tired. But then again, not a playoff team on Friday night. Um, let me phrase it to you this way. If the Jets are able to beat 2 out of the 3 against the Rangers, the Devils, who aren't a playoff team but close, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders this week, is this concern of their inability to beat playoff teams kind of behind you if they're able to win 2 or 3 of those games?
I think so. To be honest with you, I think my concern about that is gone if they beat the Rangers.
Yeah,
I
on the road, yeah, that's a huge game. Yeah,
I
true.
value what the Rangers do so highly. Like watching their games, it is exactly what I would want, in terms of team cohesiveness, for them to play. Like they all seem to be on the complete same page. They have an unbelievable forward core. They have an unbelievable defensive group.
Yeah.
Their goaltending has stabilized after some shakiness. Like I know Igor hasn't been the best this year, but up until recently, where he's turned it back on. Jonathan Quick he has like a
Yeah.
920 save percentage this year. They're just such
Vintage.
a good team. Like they're probably going to finish. I can't see it not happening, but finish at the top of the Metro.
Mhm.
They're going to challenge Florida, I think, for the President's Trophy.
Yeah.
And I think if you beat the Rangers in MSG, I would put the concern to bed.
Yeah, I agree. And Matt brings up a great point here. It probably depends how they play. I'm not too concerned about the wins and losses. They need to compete consistently. If they beat the Rangers the same way they did last year at MSG, where Connor Hellebuck has 53 saves and saves like 4 goals above expected. Yeah, like maybe I'm not ready to be like, oh, they're good. They can beat playoff teams. Look, they did it. They got the 2 points. That's a great point. But if they're able to compete, maybe the game is a 1-goal game right down to the end and, one bounce here or there. I think that's kind of what I'm looking for. As long as they don't get rolled the same way they have in Vancouver, same way they did against Nashville, same way they did in Dallas last week, which the Dallas game, they followed it up going into Carolina and beating a playoff team down 3-0 going into the third, and then followed it up with another win the very next night. So I don't know. Like this Rangers game, yeah, it brings up a great point here. The Rangers game is a measuring stick game. I think so too. The Jets, like there are measuring stick games throughout the season. Two of the top teams in the NHL, two top 5 teams in the NHL, that'll do it no matter what. But when you take into the fact the context of the Jets' inability to beat playoff teams since the calendar flipped to 2024, it's an even bigger game. That's why I don't know. I was so charged up for that Vancouver game because it was like, here we go. Maybe the Jets can find what they found 3 weeks ago against Vancouver and compete and win that game on the road. They get absolutely blown out. Nashville, big Central Division opponent, haven't lost in regulation since mid-February. Another big game, and they got rolled again. T. Konopoli saying Rangers was Cup winners from the start of the season. That's prediction is looking great because, like you said, Brian, they are incredibly deep, and Igor Shesterkin has turned the corner here. So, 50 saves on 51 shots and outshot 51-21. And the Jets, I believe, won that game 4-1 in MSG last year. So we'll see. What are you looking for tonight against Columbus? Another team. I think that they played last night. They beat the Sharks at home 4-2. Again,
That's what you call the toilet bowl.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. What like they've had so many injuries this year, so many issues. Like Mike Babcock was their head coach in training camp, and then, or maybe even before training camp, and then they've just had issue after issue ever since that whole thing happened. What have you seen kind of from them this season, and what are you expecting tonight? And Jets Columbus. I don't know. This seems so secondary to the Rangers game that's coming up next.
Yeah. What I'm looking for is a quick start. I don't want Columbus to have any idea that they're even remotely close to the Jets in this game. Like I
Mhm.
want the Jets to come out, put up 2 in the first, lead the rest of the game, and then head out on the road and figure out what happens next. Like I'm sorry, like I'm taking a look at their lineup here. Their most prolific goal scorer right now is Alex Nylander.
Right. He's on a
He's on a
heater.
heater right now, but I'm like, if your best goal scorer is Alex Nylander right now, like there's a lot of glaring holes in your lineup that, if you're the Jets, you got to exploit. Like that scoring is going to, at some point dry up because Nylander did not have a shot in the NHL until this year. And now he's
Yeah.
playing the top line with Boone Jenner and Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah.
So I would I would be cautious to say it should be a win because we've seen in the past where these games can sometimes, like the Anaheim one was an outlier, but like the games against the Sharks, the Hawks, they are all unnecessarily close.
Hmm.
If this one is close going into the third, I'll be a little bit disappointed because it's the worst team in the East.
Yes. I think, like, I don't know. We talk all about how they need to beat playoff opponents and all this stuff. And if they don't, like we said it on Thursday, they got the free squares coming up on their bingo card in Anaheim and Columbus before they have another big test. You just need to take care of business. Like I think against the Rangers, it matters kind of how they play and if they lose a close game and if they're competitive in that, because they've shown they haven't been competitive in the last however many games against playoff opponents, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then you play against Columbus, and my mindset kind of shifts to, okay, well, as long as they win, like, I don't know, like they're not worried about Columbus. It's not a measuring stick game. They're not going to be playing them in the playoffs. They're not fighting for playoff position with Columbus. But the Avs won last night. Dallas won last night. You want to keep pace in the Central, you got to beat a team like Columbus. But I think it matters less how they win. I don't know if that's like a weird way of getting around that, but against
No,
bad
I
teams,
get
I
it.
think against bad teams, I just feel like as long as you win, whatever. But when you have these big measuring stick games, it does matter how you play. So that's what I'll be watching for tonight. Again, free square on the bingo card. I think this is where you've gotta take. We got some breaking news in the chat. Winnipeg Chaster, Hellebuck's starting routine is underway as per Mitchell Clinton. So everyone in chat was saying start LB, ride the hot hand. They're going with Hellebuck tonight. I would assume, before we go to break here, I would assume this means Hellebuck tonight, Hellebuck Tuesday against the Rangers, back to Bressois Thursday in New Jersey, and then back to Hellebuck Saturday, Bressois Sunday. I think that's how the goaltending is going to go for this 5-game road trip, especially since they're starting with Hellebuck tonight. If they went with Bressois tonight, it would have been Hellebuck for the next 2, and the rest of it would have been the same anyways. But yeah, litmus test game against the Blue Jackets tonight. Yeah, big game tonight. Everyone's going to be filing in.
I've got some insider information about the Rangers that we can talk about after the break here. In terms of sort of what to expect with what they've been doing recently from Connor from New York, as we know. So, yeah, but I think that's a good place for us to take a little bit of a break here. We've already covered, if you're just joining us now, we've already covered the Jets, 6-0 win, talked a little bit about tonight's game against the Jackets. And then, when we come back after our ad from DraftKings here, we're going to talk about the rest of this road trip, which is sure to be a challenge, but we're going to hear from DraftKings and we will be right back. We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers bet $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved. And welcome back, everyone. Thanks again to DraftKings, as always, for sponsoring us. Always grateful for that. Let's talk about what's coming up this week. We've already talked quite a bit about the Rangers, but some information from our Rangers fan, Connor from New York. He said that today they are wrapping up 5 games in their past 7 days, and then are about to start a stretch where they play every other day against the Jets, the Bruins, and the Panthers.
Ooh, wow!
So
that is rough.
This might be a moment for us to catch them a little bit, on their heels. They're still really, really good.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it was that bad. I remember him complaining about it in the group chat that I'm in with him, but I didn't think it was that, intense. But then again, I don't really listen to him normally, but he's listening. That's why I'm going at him here. But no, you always have to take the opportunities that are given to you. And if the Rangers are on their heels like this a little bit, just with how tired they are, might be the moment to go into MSG and, statement game.
It might be. And I think the Jets, if my math is correct here, I think they're about to embark on a 5-game and 7-day stretch as well. Sunday to Sunday, they play 5 times. So that's where my mind is at with that. And
welcome to the dog days.
It's not as daunting of a schedule as the Rangers one is. That is like 3 top 5 teams in the league, and the Rangers are a top 5 team. So that you've got 4 of the top 5 teams playing against one another.
My God.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch. All of those games, especially Rangers Bruins. I feel like that's always a good one. But the Jets, tonight Columbus. The Rangers game is obviously the biggest game of the week. And then the Devils, they've had injury issues, notably goaltending issues that Jets fans on Twitter are dunking on them all the time because they were one of the teams that was in on Hellebuck and the asking price was too low during the offseason, and one of them is up for the Vezina, and one is on the outside of the playoff line. So Jets fans have made them well aware of that, along with Kings fans for the Dubois trade and things of that nature. And then over the weekend, you've got the Islanders and the Capitals. And if you want another elite goalie, Ilya Sorokin on the Islanders is playing fantastic and has them, has them battling for a playoff spot right now with Patrick Waugh as their head coach, winning games. And then Washington, we just saw them last Monday. The Jets had the puck. I think the exact, I don't know if it's the exact, sorry. The quote from Washington's coach after the game was something like, well, it's easy for them because they had the puck 75% of the game. And it actually felt like that. I think that's what we said on the next morning of LFP was it felt like they had the puck 70% of the game. So maybe they can repeat that on the second night of their back-to-back. Both of those games over the weekend, by the way, are 12 o'clock on Saturday and then 11:30 a.m. local start on Sunday. So we're going to be doing LFP Live 6, and it's going to like lead it right into the start of the game.
Like we've never had that much of a pregame show. Like it is going to just like at that point we might as well just rebrand it next episode as a whole pregame situation. Because at that point too we won't have any morning skate, obviously, because it is a morning game.
Right.
So a lot of there's going to be a lot of questions, I'm assuming, from the night before. It's essentially it's going to be, let's talk about the game that just happened. Let's talk about the game that's going to happen. Questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that'll be a busy weekend and that'll be fun. So join us for LFP Live number 6, a pregame show. Let's just call it what it is.
LFP pregame.
LFP pregame. Matt saying in chat there are no changes to the Jets line rushes. Maybe Perfetti's out again, and maybe the defense third pair switches. I would assume so, unless they want to give Stanley and Schmidt another game before giving Sandberg and Miller a run of games. I think the fact that both Sandberg and Miller sat shows that Miller is the like clubhouse leader to be the third pairing guy. Round 1, game 1 of the playoffs. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're back in, or they gave him another night off, both of them, and came in with Sandberg and Miller back on Tuesday. Again, this is a luxury. Like, no teams aren't able to do this across the league. But the Jets were already a deep team. And then they went out and acquired Monahan, Toffoli, Miller. Yes, Valardi's out right now, but they've just added to that depth. And Cole Perfetti is in your bottom 6. Like, yes, he struggled, but he was a top 6 player for the first half of the season, right? That's organizational depth, and the Jets have done a great job acquiring that depth. But what do you make of potentially Perfetti being out again? I wouldn't be a fan of that, especially against Columbus. I think if you sit him for both Anaheim and Columbus, and then what, does he come back in against the Rangers? Like, I don't get that. Or is he out of the lineup completely? I don't know. What let's phrase it this way. Where do you think the Jets are at with Cole Perfetti? Do you think he's round 1, game 1 of the playoffs? Do you think he's in the lineup?
I'm not sure anymore. It felt like for a stretch there, like, to be honest with, if it was up to me, yes. I wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't put him in the top 6 necessarily, just because I'm not sure who you move out, but I thought that his play with Barron and Nemesnikov on the 4th line, that line was really good. I thought
Bonus loved
fantastic.
It. Bonus loved it too after the game. He was singing their praises. So,
but I don't know what sort of, like, obviously you need that line to score occasionally, but I don't know what else they can do aside from putting the puck in the net to say, hey, we should be played as a line together.
But it was it the Washington game? Perfetti hit like 2 posts. Barron had a few good chances. Like, they didn't physically put the puck in the net. They didn't score any goals, but that line was fantastic that game. And I think it's easy or like possible to run them as a 4th line. I think like the configuration, you're not messing anything else up, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think something that may be swaying it as well. Nemesnikov can't really take faceoffs right now.
Right.
Is it a wrist or a hand injury right
now? Thumb.
So
apparently,
they have Gustafsson centering the 4th line. to take the faceoffs because he's a natural center and he obviously has done wonders with the Moose as a center.
Yeah.
Um, exact Morgan Barron went in there mid game, took I think 90% of the faceoffs of that line.
Hmm.
He was like 60%.
Yeah. Which is Vladislav Nemestikov, I believe, is like in the mid 30s or
Yep.
low 40s for faceoff percentage. That was like he was the second line center for the first half of the season. And that was like a massive thing. We talked about it because they don't trust the second line enough to go out there in the defensive zone and win a faceoff. Like it was a problem. And look, Morgan Barron's having a great season. He's got 10
Yep.
goals from the fourth line. He's played fourth line minutes all season long. He's got 10 goals. He's having a fantastic year. If it weren't for the depth that I mentioned earlier and the acquisitions the Jets made, maybe you'd see him jump up here and there. But Alex Iafallo seems to be the de facto bottom six guy who jumps up along with Nemestikov if it's a center, things of that nature. But I don't know. I feel like if there's an opportunity here down the stretch, I'd like to see Barron up in the top six, give him a chance with some more skilled players. I mean, he's been so good on that fourth line. He's
Yeah.
such a good skater. He's a powerful skater. And he wins battles along the wall. And then some games he does all this work and he has Gustafsson and Kapari on his wing who have struggled this season. Gustafsson in and out of injury, Kapari as well, in and out of the lineup, in and out of injury. That line just doesn't really generate much. But when you see Perfetti, Nemestikov, Barron as a line, like all three of those guys, I think can jump up into the top six at any moment. So you've got three like fringe top six guys. Well, not fringe, maybe like mid tier to bottom tier, middle six players on your fourth line, and that's a weapon come playoff time. You can roll four lines, keep people fresh, and I'd love to see that as the fourth line again. It looks as though Perfetti's not in the lineup tonight. Mitch Clayton kind of he tweeted out the lines here. Basically, he had Perfetti and Kapari as the extras, with Barron, Gustafsson, Nemestikov as the fourth line. So don't expect to see Perfetti tonight unless something changes here.
Yeah, and to be honest with you though, like I kind of get the swap in with Gustafson because he's a bit more sound in his game. I'll be honest, I no longer like aside from being fast, I don't really see the upside in having, Rasmus Kupari, in the lineup anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
he's the one who swaps in for like a Cole Perfetti, I don't like that trade-off, even if it's in
Yeah.
limited minutes. Um, but no, and what sucks too is we won't have the definitive answers on the defense pairings until they show like who's on for extra work because they're both pairings are taking line rushes right now.
Yeah. And I have a feeling it's going to be a thing the rest of the year. Like they're both just going to take line rushes at morning skate all the time.
Yep.
And it'll just be like, all right, we'll wait for warm up, see which third pairing is in. But again, I think Sandberg and Miller are ahead of the round one, game one race, if you
Yes.
want to call it that. The fourth line though, I think Gustafsson is ahead of Perfetti when it comes to the round one, game one race of who's in the lineup. Just based off the coach's trust level in the players to win in a playoff environment, I think they'd prefer Gustafsson. I don't know. I think
I
that's
mean, it
where we're at
seems
with
like
Cole
it.
Perfetti. I
Like,
like Cole Perfetti's been so much better though, which makes this a tough conversation. He hasn't gotten the points to show for it, but he's hit a couple posts. That game against Washington was the best game I think he's played in this slump entirely. He's slowly starting to gain confidence back, and now he's not even in the lineup. Back-to-back games against two of the bottom five teams in the league. I think that kind of
it
says
says a
all you need to
lot.
say. But like again, if he's back in against the Rangers, then what does that say? Then that's a playoff opponent on the road. I don't know. Did Perfetti play on the second power play unit last game against Nashville? I believe he did. I do remember the Jets getting a power play. I think Mason Appleton scored a power play goal to end it
Of
off.
course he
But
did.
yeah, like that was their goal. But Perfetti was on the second unit, and he has been kind of on that right wall so far this season. If Valardi can return, I'd like to see Iafallo and Appleton spawn Appleton on the fourth line with Barron and Vladdy. That I'd like to see that line as well. They actually started the year Niederreiter, Lowry, Iafallo. Like the first a couple games of the year. It might have been like the second and third game, but they ran for that for the first 3-4 games. And then Appleton moved up and that line went on an absolute tear and they haven't looked back. That line has been great. But I'd also like to see that because Iafallo plays the style that Lowry and Niederreiter play, and that line stylistically works. I don't know what you think of that. Iafallo being on the third line. If this is again, if Valardi can return, I guess we didn't mention this off the top, but Rick Bone is saying that Valardi has an enlarged spleen and he's being treated for it, but he's not traveling on the road trip with the team. Me personally, I'm just like the whole Gabriel Valardi news just sucks because he'd been labeled an injury prone player because of his back issues in LA. And then he gets hurt off a fluke play to start the year, gets like basically slew footed and falls on his own knee. And then now, like, this isn't even an injury. Like, I don't know. It's just so unlucky for a player that's injury prone to get this kind of fluky injury that is preventing him from playing, which absolutely sucks. But I guess your thoughts on the Valardi news, since we didn't touch on that off the top.
As you said, it sucks because no matter what it was, he's gonna somehow, take some sort of flack for being quote unquote injury
Yeah.
prone. Like it's similar to, there's a couple guys that you can point to where it's like, is it he injury prone or is it just really bad luck?
Yeah.
And I think in LA, his back injuries, yeah, like you can point to that and be like, I'd be worried about that.
Sure.
I'm not seeing that here. Like it's a
No.
knee, an undisclosed upper body, which we don't know what that is, and there's no use in speculating.
Yeah.
And then an enlarged spleen. Like you're
Yeah. It's so
like it's not like you're getting to a point here where it's like, oh, you can point to the cause of this, or it's like, oh, anytime he takes a hit, he gets hurt. That's not true. And for him to, be trying to work his way back and then to essentially be, told that you have to stay out indefinitely until this, gets figured out, that must really, really suck.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's like it's one of those things where the Jets did compensate for some issues in the the top six with Toffoli, but we haven't seen Gabe Vilardi in that top six yet with the
Yeah.
reinforcements.
Yeah. And that would be a huge addition. Like Velarde plays such a physical style. He dominates in front of the net, like in the crease with his hands in close. So you can't even say like he's a soft player and then every time he gets touched, like he goes to the hard areas. So that notion has kind of no merit to it. But yeah, it absolutely sucks. But I'm hoping he could come back for playoffs. That's really what the hope should be because again, he's hurt. He's not traveling on the trip, and it absolutely sucks. But if he's able to come back for the playoffs, then the Jets are in a better spot because of it. So we will see. We've got over 150 people here in chat, so thank you to everyone who has joined us.
Another big morning.
Another big morning. Yes, game day morning, game day edition of LFP Live. Tell a friend about LFP. If you're here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You'll get notified every time we go live, especially next Sunday when we tee up Jets Capitals, basically bring you right into Jets Capitals, which starts at 11:30. But join us for that. But as for right now, let's open up the questions to the chat. We always end off every LFP Live with a bit of a questions segment and ask LFP your thoughts, our thoughts on anything Jets related, not Jets related. We were asked last week by Sammy Smokes what our favorite, or whether we preferred like ribs, pulled pork, or brisket. Hey, if you got any
The
questions for us,
floor
throw
is
them in the
open
chat.
for anything.
The floor is open, but
We
we'd
got
prefer if it was Jets
someone
related.
asked if Elliot liked coffee.
Yep, that was a
Like
good
it's one of
question.
those things where it's like we're not gonna be exclusionary with anything that's asked. We're people who want to answer the people.
Yeah, exactly. We just here, Adam's giving his thoughts. Brisket. I think that was my answer. I said brisket was the best of the three. But I think you brought up this point as well. Was it ribs or pulled pork. I don't know. I think it might have been pulled pork. That was like you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Absolute money every time. But a good brisket is the winner. That's where I sit on that. This is a great question here. Watch the last couple of Moose games. Villy looks ready. What happens with that situation? Does he get games before the playoffs? Brian, I'll let you take the lead on this one. The Villy Hanela situation. What's your read on it?
I could honestly see him maybe getting like a game or something at the end of the year
Mm,
when the Jets will likely sit like 3 out of their top 4.
yeah.
Because they're probably going to clinch a playoff spot here in the next week and a half.
Yeah. Maybe. I
So,
mean, they're already at 89 points. I think
which is
the
wild to me.
yeah.
I think you might see him as like a black ace, end of the year,
Mhm.
couple guys are sitting, but he won't play anything meaningful, which is
I don't think
unfortunate.
so.
But we talked about, I think it may have been on I can't remember if it was on an LFP live or an episode, but regardless, um, next year, based on the Jets contract situation, and the fact that he's no longer waivers eligible, he's going to
Yeah.
be, unless they move him in a deal, he's going to be on the Jets in some capacity. So I wonder if that's something that plays into, effect. Like if there was still a situation where he could be, uh, shoved down into the minors for another year, I bet you he probably doesn't see any games.
Mhm.
But they kind of need to tell him that, okay, we're going to get a look at you because next year you're going to be on this team. I
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's just going to sit down there.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's an unfortunate situation again because he's a player who won a job, excuse me, out of training camp. Rick Bowness said as much. And then he snapped his ankle in the last preseason game on another fluke, like falls on his own ankle, like Valardi. Like it's just a dumb play. And it cost him because he had a spot on this roster. But like you said, he is a guy who has to be on this team next year, or they're going to lose him to waivers, or they're going to trade him, or something of that nature. But he's going to be on this team, especially with the current contract situation and the fact that Brendan Dillon, that is, and Dylan DeMello are both pending UFAs. Colin Miller as well. I would assume one of those guys, if not two of them, aren't coming back. He's going to have to fill a role there. Maybe they buy out Nate Schmidt's contract or move the last year of it or something. He's going to be on the Jets next year, I think, playing at minimum third pairing minutes. And yeah, those are my thoughts on the Villarreal situation. Matt, where and what classes and programs are you taking in school? We both go to CMU, and we are taking the communications and media program. Brian is further along than I am, but
Not
we're
by
getting
much.
there. Not by much, but we're getting there. We're in year 4. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Actually, this term we're taking like a podcasting class. It's really fun, and we're learning a lot. So here we are. You're seeing the class pay off right in front of your very own
David,
eyes.
if you're watching, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. C-Mac, any chance Perfetti heads to the Moose to get some games in and regain his confidence? I say there's no chance.
It
I
seems
think,
very unlikely. Like the optics of
yeah.
that alone seem like
Mhm.
you're inviting criticism, and that's something I don't think they would do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Matt saying Schmidt's taking reps on PP2, so Sandberg and Miller likely out tonight. Thank you, Matt, for being our on the show insider here. I'm not able to check my phone and get all these updates, but you're here in chat giving us the updates. Really appreciate it. Sammy Smokes, you can't pick the Jets. Who's your team? It's a great question. I'll go to you on this one first.
See, I have an answer for this because
You do.
so I was born in '97, so I never even got a chance to get a lick of the initial Jets fever. So I had to find something else to cheer for. So it might be miserable now because I still kind of I follow along and I cheer for them. But I grew up an Ottawa Senators fan, and I always say to like the people who claim that you can't cheer for multiple teams, I'm like, why would I choose the pain of cheering for the Ottawa Senators? Like I should be, given,
Yep.
some sort of pass because I have chosen to give myself a life of pain. A team is just
That's
miserable.
So what you said, yeah. I mean, yeah, the Senators are miserable. I gotta agree. But hey, if I had to choose one, I said this a while ago on WST, but I think the Oilers are my second most watched team in the league. I don't know if that makes them my second favorite team, but they play in the late window. They have Connor McDavid. Like I just find myself tuning into Oilers games all the time because the Jets will play at 7, and then the Oilers will play at 9, and it's like a perfect second game to watch every single night. And again, they have the best player in the world. So I know Jets fans won't like that because there's PTSD there from the 90s, but maybe the Oilers. I think I'd also go. I was a Canucks fan before the Jets came back, and to see them doing well is pretty cool. I'm picking a ton of Western Conference rivals here. Also, Vegas, one of my favorite teams ever. No, I'm kidding.
Oh God.
But I'd actually go Vancouver and Edmonton. I like the Canadian teams. Edmonton has the best player, one of the most talented players, maybe the most talented player we've ever seen put on skates. So that's always fun to watch. Tico Pauly, is it too late to fly Bauer out for Bauer versus Rempe 1-on-1 inside MSG? I love it.
Jeez.
I love it. I love it. That'd be great. Adam saying I'd like to see Lambert get a game 2. His numbers are pretty well identical to Kyle Connor at the same age in the A. He's been fantastic his first year as a center in a pro league. And I think he's been great. And whether his numbers, I'd like to see him get a game as well, maybe at the end of the year. His numbers, that's a really good sign. But I'd even give him the rest of the year in the AHL and then bring him up for a game or two just to see. But giving him a full year of development in the AHL where he's an AHL All-Star as a center, I think that's huge. And it changes the Jets' prospect pool, their dynamic if Lambert is a center. What do you think about Brad Lambert and maybe getting a game at the end of the year?
I think it's a similar situation to what I said about Heinola, where at some point or another, someone is going to get sat for a couple games just to, recuperate before the playoffs. So
Yeah.
there's going to be some spots opening. But it's also the fact that I don't know what their thoughts are on this because we've talked about in depth about what it sometimes will mean for a young player to go at least even a couple playoff games in the
Mhm.
AHL. The Moose they've clawed their way back into a playoff spot,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they are on a roll right now. So they're in the midst of a total dogfight right now. And so if you're the Jets, I would rather bring up an Axel Janssen Fjallby because he's experienced NHL and AHL. He knows this.
Mhm.
Lambert
Yep.
has never had the ability to be a number one center in a playoff game, and he would be able to do that with the
Yeah.
Moose this year. Like it might be a quick exit because they're gonna like sneak in and they're gonna play one of the better teams, but it doesn't matter. It's experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, and that's valuable experience for prospects. Gilbert's asking who's winning the Masters. Do you follow golf like closely? I mean,
Not
I
not
do. Like,
closely. I know a little bit.
yeah, I turn it on. I mean, like you've got the obvious favorites. I might be making myself sound dumb here, but the obvious favorites like John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, uh,
Yeah.
like a Rory McIlroy. Is he
See,
still elite? I would
uh,
think.
I'm not sure if he's elite, but he's still hanging around. But
I'll go Scotty
my
Scheffler. Final
my
answer.
brain says Scotty Scheffler. My heart says Nick Taylor. Go with
Nick
the
Taylor.
Canadian boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Good point.
I don't watch a whole lot of golf. I know a lot of I keep track of sort of the majors that are going on. I typically
Yeah.
listen. Maybe I'm a casual, but I don't turn on any tournament until the Sunday.
Yeah.
Uh,
Fair.
I'm sorry, like Masters Sunday to me, I will legitimately watch, but anything before that, I'm kind of like, if it's on, it's on. If not,
Yeah.
yeah,
This brings up a great point as well. The Masters are coming up. March Madness is coming up. We are about to embark on, in my opinion, what my favorite 3 months of the sporting
yeah.
season is. You got March Madness, you got the Masters, you got the NHL playoffs coming up, you've got the NBA playoffs coming up. The NFL is cool, and that like coinciding with the start of NHL season and all the seasons starting is a great time as well. But I think nothing beats the NHL playoffs, and you add in the Masters, you add in March Madness, which is so much fun, making brackets and things of that nature. It's going to be fun. We've got a lot of questions here, so let's rapid fire through these because we're way behind. People are.
We did start into the question period a little bit earlier today, so we've
Yes,
given
we can
ourselves
go longer.
some breathing room. It's almost like we
Absolutely.
knew.
Exactly. Doug asked, do they try and package Schmidt off before the draft to get more cap space to sign DeMello and Dillon? I think they try. Whether they're
I wouldn't rule it out.
successful. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. T. Konopoli, will Salamonson get a game before season's end if he signs? It's a great question because I
In the
think he is
NHL,
going to
no.
sign. Yeah, maybe with the Moose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Are you teaching the podcast class yet?
We have
No,
a
not
long
yet.
way to go.
I've actually learned a ton in that class. It's been so helpful. But yeah, Doug Hanel will be traded before the draft. He lacks strength and defensive ability. I don't know, like that preseason he showed, I think, a little bit of growth in maybe not the strength, but the defensive ability and his ability to defend off the rush. So I the fact he'll be on a cheap contract as well, I think he's on the team next year.
I think that he's actually come a long way in his defensive ability. He plays a quiet defensive game, and you don't notice it as much because you focus mostly on his puck moving. But he's very smart in his own end, and I know he's not the biggest, but also he plays a very quiet, nasty game in front of the net. If you isolate on him, the slashes, the cross checks, the little board battles that he's getting into. I've been watching, I renewed my AHL TV subscription, partway into the year just so I could see sort of what was going on down there. And I love how nasty he is in front of the net. And you need that to make it in the NHL. You need some sort of mean streak. You can't just, passively sit there. He doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you really watch him, when you isolate on him, he is not, going to be one of these guys who just like quietly stands there and doesn't defend. He's strong defensively, even if you don't notice it.
Yes, I agree. Jeff saying Flyers is his second favorite team. I think that's the comment there. That's how far behind we are. I think we talked about this. I'm still up here on the comments.
That's 7 minutes ago.
I know we got to get moving. Watching any of the World Women's Curling, I am not.
I had it on the other day. I know Team Homan is 2-0.
Go ahead.
So that's big.
There you go. I don't follow curling as much. My dad watches curling a little bit more than I do. Follow the Pens. Miserable for the Pens right now. Yeah, that's brutal. Do we see McGroarty sign before the playoffs? Chevy made it seem in his presser like we're talking with his representatives, but not about business. I think so. I think we do see him sign, and then I don't know where it goes from there.
We've debated it a lot.
Yeah. Adam defending me here. You can still love watching McDavid and hate the Oilers. That's a great point.
Absolutely.
I'm just sitting there like basking in greatness, but I still hate the Oilers. PTSD from the 80s. Yeah. Okay, let's get here. I gotta get moving here with the Jennifer Harabchak. My sister's in chat. How are we doing? We're nearing 200 people here in chat. So thank you everyone who is here with us live on a Sunday morning, pre-gaming for the Jets game tonight. That'll be super fun. Let me find another. If Michigan doesn't, this is a good question. If Michigan doesn't win the NCAA Frozen Four, does Rutgers stay another year? It is common. I'll start this without answering the question. I'll let you answer it, but I'll say it is common for players in college to say like, "Oh, I'm not leaving until I'm winning," or whatever. Like I'm staying another year because we have unfinished business. Whether or not they come through on that is a different story because the money you're making in the NHL is legit. So I think that's a common sentiment, but then when they see that entry-level contract slide across their desk, things change pretty quickly. But go ahead. You answer the question.
I think, I mean, the one thing that throws a wrench into where I'm at on this is the fact that we, as everyone has talked about, know that Rutger is a natural leader. And you have to wonder if, level of, loyalty and, passion towards, that program there, does that sway his decision if they don't win? I still think he signs just because it's it's a life changing step. But like I don't think it's an easy decision. I think that's why we haven't heard anything along the lines of it's going to get done before the end of the year. He's just waiting.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I as if you're watching, most episodes, I'm wearing the Michigan hat. I am a huge Michigan sports fan. So I understand that program with the amount of status in all of its sports that it has
Mm-hmm.
might have a level of you would live in infamy if you win a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really enticing to some guys. I'm just not sure if it's enough for him to stick around for another year when he's going to be in the NHL next year.
Yeah, and he's dominating the NCAA right now. He's
Cody
having an
Baker?
incredible Hobie Baker, maybe? Yeah. Like, and again, the fact he's in the Hobie Baker conversation, like we had Scott Wheeler on. He's not a point producing guy, or he wasn't until this year. Like he's a power forward, wins along the wall, good leader, like things of like Nino Niederreiter is my comparison for him all the time. But now in college, he's putting up a ton of points. Like this is crazy. Matt saying, sorry, Hanela, full-time roster player on the Jets next season, 6'7" D-man. I
He
agree.
has to
I
be.
think he's a full-time. I think so too. And Matt following up his point with another great point. Jets could really use a couple of ELC contracts on the roster next season. Cap will be tight. They got a lot of people to re-sign Monahan to Foley if they want to. I don't know. That might be a luxury they can't afford. But then Dylan, DeMello, Miller. There's a lot of guys that at Perfetti as well. Bressois. I don't know. I think Bressois probably gone because he's just playing too well. But I think Jets fans will be like, go win elsewhere. We're happy for you. We're he's done it in Winnipeg. John brings up a great point here. I forgot about baseball. That whole rant about me, the great sports we're coming up on in the next couple.
Love baseball season.
You're a bigger baseball fan than me. You go ahead. Your excitement for the upcoming year.
I think this year for me, as just like a fan itself, I'm excited to see sort of the competition level because there's a lot of questions as to who's going to finish up where. I'm a Jays fan though, so I'm not exactly sure they've done enough to, remain in
Yeah.
that race. But I will say there was some life in the manager's voice talking about how they don't want to win games by hitting, maybe 4 or 5 balls just out of the infield, play small ball. They want to hit the ball in the air. They want to, go big. And like they didn't have that last year. So maybe they'll do what they need to do to actually be successful. And obviously, go Gold Eyes.
Go Gold Eyes. Yes, we got the
Home
Gold Eyes
opener,
coming up
May
too.
21st.
May 21st. Perfect. Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm not the biggest baseball fan, but I'm excited to see like if the Dodgers make the play. Okay, if the Dodgers make the playoffs, what a crazy statement. They're going to make the playoffs. Seeing Ohtani in the playoffs be really cool. Again, as a casual fan, it's all about seeing the superstars on the biggest stage, right? So I'm excited for that. John says he's excited for the upcoming whiteout.
100%.
I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun. The first round, they're almost guaranteed to play a really good opponent. Jeff, can you imagine if Michigan wins the national championship of hockey to go along with the football title? Brian would be very happy.
I don't know if I would need anything else aside from a Jets Cup to make me so happy. And I don't know if Rebel's watching. He hasn't been in chat yet. Rebel is the one who got me into Michigan sports. He graduated University of Michigan. A couple other friends graduated University of Michigan. And they're like, hey, you should really start checking it out. And then I was hooked. And I don't know what I wouldn't be able to control myself. And I would be insufferable on all platforms if you follow me. If Michigan does that, like, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah. I saw that they picked up a big win last night against Minnesota, I believe it was. And that was, hey man, Michigan, Rutger, doing fun things. The Illegal Curve Hockey channel's in the chat saying Connor isn't really in front of CLC.
What?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I was going to say it's awfully bright
so
outside behind me, but it looks kind of dark there. You want to wear an
Yeah.
umbrella?
No, it's just my camera settings. They're messed up. Yeah. No. Anyways, yeah, it is a green screen. Surprise, surprise. But Illegal Curve Hockey's in the chat. I'm sure everyone who's in chat with us was on their show yesterday. They're live every Saturday morning. Legal Curve Hockey Show, 9 a.m. I don't need to tell you that. Everyone knows that. C-Mac Brossois is a 1.99 goals against average. He's going to get the bag. Yeah, I think like he took kind of a prove it deal, 1 year, 1.75, I want
Boy,
to
is
say
he
is his
ever.
contract. Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets like a longer term deal as well. If a team goes like 3 years or like 4 years and goes in the 3 million range to be like a low level starter, like he's going to get I think north of $10 million in total value on his contract.
See, I'm actually interested in seeing, maybe this is a topic for another episode, but where he might end up. Just because there's quite a few teams, I would honestly say in the East specifically, that
Yeah.
are looking for a solid goalie who can actually take over the workload. Um, I could see maybe a Carolina because there's some concerns with
Yeah.
Freddie Anderson's health. And I know that they also have Kochetkov that a little bit, there's some questions about his game and he's young and whatever. So Brossois might be a good 2-year holdover deal for them. Colorado might be interested if Georgiev continues to be kind of up and down.
Yeah. Good point.
And I'm going to say this, and it would pain me so much to see it. I could see Toronto looking at him,
Yeah.
especially after this last
Toronto.
year, because, Samsonov's been unbelievably inconsistent. He was
Yeah.
like legitimately bad to start the year.
Yeah.
Joseph Wall's been out almost all year with an injury. He's back now, but like, how is he
Yeah.
going to be, going forward? It wouldn't shock me to see the Leafs say maybe this is a guy that we look at who's played in the Canadian market already.
And the Leafs, who did it again last night, I don't know if people were watching, but they had a 4-2 lead with under 2 minutes left and lost 5-4 in a shootout to the
I did see
Carolina
that
Hurricanes.
because Sebastian Aho's on my fantasy team.
And I don't know if you saw Aho's goal to tie the game. Holy, it was gorgeous. Anyways,
One of my favorite players in the league.
yes, I'm with you on that. He's so much fun to watch. But the Leafs, that was the first time they've blown a lead where they've had a 2-goal lead with under 2 minutes left. That's the first time they've done it since 2007. So they're just finding new ways to blow leads, and then they lose in a shootout. It's the Leafs. It's what they do. At Sabres as well, Matt bringing up a great point here. They could give them a run for their money. Especially, where does Comrie go? They have Devin Levi coming in. They have UPL as their goaltender
Who
right now.
UPL has been outstanding recently.
Yeah, exactly. He has. Does Toronto have the cap space? That's a good point. I mean, they have so many players. I think they're going to trade one of their big ticket
I think
players.
Marner's
like maybe,
gone.
I think Marner. Yeah, I don't know. They did just sign Nylander, so I don't think he's the one. They were up 3-0 and then 4-2. Yeah, unreal. LB still unproven as a season-long starter. Excellent backup, but never been a starter in his 30. That's a good point. I still think while he won't be like a true number one on a team, I could see him getting a 3-year deal in the 3 million range so that he's like a 1B or a 1A type goaltender where he splits the starts with on the Sabres, a UPL, or on the Leafs, Ilya Samsonov, right? Like he's not the guy, but he's probably their game one starter in the playoffs. He's going to take up the slight majority of the starts, something like that. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be going anywhere to be a 60 game workload guy like a Connor Hellebuck, which is, LB seems like a Leafs Oilers type of goalie. Desperate to have someone come in at a reasonable contract to be in goal. Jack Campbell, literally a Leafs Oilers goalie, went from the Leafs to the Oilers, got a bag, and is now in the AHL. Comrie back to the Jets next season from Matt. I don't know. That
would be great guy, great dude. No, thank you.
We've raised the standard of backup goaltenders here in Winnipeg because of Brossois and how good he's playing. But but again, great point here. If LB does leave, I do worry about the quality of backup that Hellebuck will have. Needs a competent backup to take the load off of him. This is such a huge difference. What we're seeing right now from last year. Last year, the team started to slide. and they were basically fighting for their playoff lives for the final 15 games, and Hellbuck had to play every single game to end the season, the final 15, I think it was, because they were playing their for their playoff lives every single game. Now they're up, they're in a playoff spot comfortably, and their backup isn't just a guy who's going to take the load off of Hellebuck. He's going to go in and post back-to-back shutouts and have a 924, 926 save percentage. Someone said earlier in chat a 1.99 goals against average. It was C-Mac. Like their backup is putting up elite numbers. It's unbelievable. And last year, Dave Riddick struggled down the stretch. They had to play Hellebuck every game. He was burnt out come playoff time. Now there's no excuse. Hellebuck doesn't have to play every game to end the year.
I will say if you see me looking down my phone, I'm looking at the upcoming free agent goaltenders in 2024 because I can't see them trading assets for a goalie, so they're going to sign someone. Guys like Chris Drieger in Seattle is up. Like that's the thing. He's probably never going to be a starter, but he's been an okay backup. Yep. If you're looking for a veteran, a Cam Talbot.
Sure.
I mean, he's been solid in LA for the most part this year. It's just the rest of the team around him
very up and down. Yes.
But
yes.
It's been kind of all over the place. But you're also like, maybe I wouldn't shock me. I'm not saying I would do this. See if they put a hand out to James Reimer.
Yeah. Manitoban.
Because but like, there's a few guys here that I'd wonder about. I would see if somehow, I think Florida's going to sign him. Check to see if Anthony Stolars is, thinking of hitting the open market. Him and Bobrovsky as a tandem have been fantastic this year.
Yes.
I would have them second to, Hellebuck and Brossoit this year with how well they've both played. But yeah, I think you have to look externally because I don't think there's any immediate help in the pipeline. It's going to be a couple years away.
Yeah. And Matt, I think this was Arvid Holm. I think I remember this because down the stretch, I remember him like taking warm-ups. I covered the Moose last year, and I remember him being called up, and people were like asking, like, "Oh, could he play games?" And I was like, "Probably not." Like, I don't know, man. That's, but yeah, I remember Arvid Holm coming up and backing up Connor Hellbuck for a game, and it was like, wow, like that just said everything that needs to be said. LB needs 7 more games played this year for him to qualify for the Jennings with Hellebuck. Do they give him 7 of the remaining 16? I did not know that there was a minimum. That's news to me. I didn't know that, but I think yes, they play him 7 times then. Yeah.
Well, they can trust.
I think I think they'd play him 7 times anyways to keep Hellebuck fresh for the playoffs, right? I mean, he's gonna get 2 games this week, and their schedule doesn't lighten up. So I think, and then again, if the final 2-3 games of the year, he's 2 games away, they'll play him twice and make him eligible. That's a 25 minimum. Thank you, guys. Look, the chat is out here. I'm learning things on a Sunday morning.
We're doing our job.
Great way to, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Matt and C-Mac coming together there, providing some great info. So 25 minimum games for both goalies to qualify for the Jennings, the lowest goals against average. And LB needs 7 more games. So that makes it. Why isn't he starting tonight? We need one more of those games. Come on, man. I think there's something to be said there, man. LB and Helly are the Pocky and the Bandit of 2024. They are the best tandem in the league. Either them or, like Brian said, Bobrovsky or Stolars. Those are the 2 best defensive teams in the league in terms of goals against average, expected goals against, things of that nature, and then the goaltending as well to back it all up. Is there anything else, Brian? We're running out of questions here. Thank you to everyone who's here with us. We're over 200 now.
Feels like I'm looking at the breakdown here, and we've got like 175 people on Twitter watching us. Okay. We've got, we're hovering somewhere around 50 on YouTube. We got a couple on Facebook. Like we're spanning the interwebs here.
Yeah. We're trying to get everywhere, get people watching. We've got over 200 people, excuse me, across all the platforms added up. So thank you to everyone who's here with us on a Sunday morning. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight.
Yes.
Should be a good one. Should be a Jets win. We'll be back Tuesday. What episode will that be? 77? 77. Okay. We'll be back then to break down this game.
The Kyle Capobianco episode of.
Oh boy. I'm trying to think of anyone else. I don't think so. I don't think anyone else wore 77. You're searching it
there
up.
was
You're
like
searching
one
it
of
up.
those
Okay.
like early Moose guys that like everyone really liked.
Yeah.
Jets number history.
Matt,
Thank God for Hockey Reference.
Not
sometimes.
yet, but you're pretty close there, Matt. You're out here giving us all this information. You're doing the intern's work. I love it, man. Go Jets go from Gilbert. Go Jets go from Stacy, C-Mac. Everyone's getting in on it. We got a Go Jets go chant live in the chat. Yeah.
Some names here. So
there's
in
names, plural.
2016, okay. Chase DeLeo, Moose legend. Ooh. I've got a Chase DeLeo Moose jersey in my closet.
Wow.
Adam Brooks. I forgot about him in 2022.
Yes. Good point. Adam Brooks.
And then Kyle Capobianco.
Just Moose legends. Oh my goodness. All right. Let's get out of here. Got a big game tonight. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Over 200 people, like I said. We really appreciate it. We always end the shows on a peak, which does suck. But hey, join us earlier, 9 a.m. If you're up, set your alarms. If not, hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube and the notification bell. Maybe you're up and you just forgot about it until now. But hey, notification bell.
And we post the replays.
Yes, and we post the replays. Notification bell notifies you when we go live, so you don't forget. But yeah, if you're here on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We got to go Jets go. Going in. This is the atmosphere, the in-game atmosphere that people talk about, Brian.
I can't wait for next Sunday.
Yeah, we've got it. Like that'll be like warm-ups. We'll see warm-up line rushes at that point. Maybe we'll start like half an hour later that day so that we can actually lead right into like warm-ups. We'll
have it on behind me on the TV.
Yeah, we'll do a live watch party. I'll be outside Canada Life Center here, just like I thought the game was here today.
We'll just like turn around. We'll have our backs to the screen.
Yeah. I'll just turn and say, "Oh my god." Anyways, yes, let's get out of here. Thanks everyone for joining us. Join us again next Sunday. We'll be releasing episodes Tuesday and Thursday, episodes 77 and 78. And that'll be those will be fun. We'll be breaking down that big game against the Rangers, along with the game tonight against Columbus, the New Jersey game, and then the playoffs over the weekend. Be like Gilbert, subscribe on your way out, and we will see you, everyone. Have a great week. Enjoy the game tonight, and we will see you Tuesday. See you.